Hello everybody and welcome back to Odin's Movie Blog. I am the critic who is a cynic. Hope you are doing well, and today, oh boy, we've got something special. Not too long ago, Bob Iger came out and admitted that Star Wars is not in a very good place. Admitted that they did too much too fast, and that was the reason why he thought that the franchise wasn't doing well, even though anyone with a brain, anyone who has just been aware of the Phantom Menace, who's been aware of the box office and all these other things, know that it has very little to do with being too much too fast and more to do with being too little too late. Again, not enough good quality content in a extended period of time. You go back to all the different films, Force Awakens, it was good enough. People say, oh, it made $2 billion, so obviously it was a really good movie. It was okay. It was a good enough movie for the time because everyone said, okay, this is just a rehash of A New Hope, and you know what? For right now, that's okay. As long as it means that they're going to move past it in the future, that is absolutely fine. They're setting up some very interesting things. They're bringing in the old characters in a peculiar way. Yes, we lost Han Solo, but at the end of the day, we knew that Harrison Ford wanted that character to pass on anyway, but still, there was something there. There was something to be excited for because of really some of the cool plot points that they were setting up. Then we got The Last Jedi, and then The Last Jedi just said, yeah, all those things that you were interested in, we're going to just say, screw your expectations, screw the fan base, screw what the fans want. Let's just go ahead and make a movie for ourselves, make a movie for the SJW NPC crowd, and we'll see what happens. And sure enough, made $700 million less, and then eventually led to Star Wars films no longer making money because Solo lost $200 million at the box office. And so for a long time, we're thinking to ourselves, you know, how can you not say that there's something wrong with Star Wars right now? Because all the articles are coming out saying Star Wars is fine. Look at all the money it's made. Just recently, you had the CNBC article saying, oh, it took only 6 years for Lucasfilm to make its money back, you know, for Disney to make its money back off its $4 billion purchase. But then when you actually broke down the numbers, you said, wait a minute, no, this isn't right. Just because you are able to say, oh, look, all the total grosses of all the films will add up to $4.8 billion, when you don't take into account that it costs money to make the movies and also that they don't receive 100% of the total box office gross, and so that number drops dramatically. Even then, though, they still weren't really admitting that there's something wrong. Bob Iger was really the first one to admit, oh yeah, Star Wars isn't nearly where it should be at this point. But now we've got even more confirmation because now we have a director saying that this is going to be a course correction, that Episode 9 is going to course correct. Now, in order for there to be a course correction, it means that something, somewhere along the way, there has to have been a movie or a thing that had led Star Wars off course. And the only thing that you can point to, the only one that anything logical that anyone can point to is The Last Jedi. Because The Last Jedi, once again, broke Star Wars. Again, put it off on this random tangent. When we look back 20 years from now, and we look at the sequel trilogy, all of us are thinking to ourselves, what in the hell were they thinking when they made The Last Jedi? Episode 7, cool concepts, rehash of A New Hope, but you know what? There's something there. There is something exciting about some of the characters and about some of the story elements. And then we look at Episode 8 and say, oh my god, this is an entirely different film. Apparently he wrote it before Episode 7 even came out, so he already had his own mindset. Somehow Kathleen Kennedy said, oh yeah, oh this is fine. Yeah, it's gonna piss off a bunch of the fans, but you know, it's okay, we don't need the fans. We're Disney, we just put Star Wars in the title, we'll still make money. And then sure enough, after that, they made Solo, and they realized, oh, we do need the fans. Oh, wait a minute, let's try and throw Lando Calrissian. Let's throw in all these characters. And, oh, Luke's going to be back too, guys. See, we listen to you. We care about what you think. No, you don't. You obviously don't. But it is very nice. It is very nice to finally hear someone saying that Star Wars needs a course correction, because it does. And guess who's been saying that for a long time? This guy, Geeks and Gamers, Ethan Van Sciver, World Class BSers, Anna That Star Wars Girl, Ivan Ortega. I mean, the list goes on and on and on of the countless number of people. And I'm just talking on YouTube. There have been people on Twitter for a very long time who have been saying these things. There have been people like World Class BSers who, since The Force Awakens, have been saying, hey, there's something not right here. There's something not going on. There's something just not quite right going on here. You know, obviously, most of us woke up to that fact after The Last Jedi, but still, people have been saying this for a very long time. And so the fact that they're finally admitting, that someone at the top is finally admitting that there needs to be a course correction, I think that's big news. I think that's gigantic. And I know that Ethan Van Sciver covered this earlier because it is important. To me, this says, okay, they understand and realize, oh, wait, we're not okay. Oh, wait, we are kind of losing money now when we actually break down the numbers. Oh no, it wasn't 80 million that we lost, it was 200 million because of box office numbers and facts. Oh man, we should have listened to Odin's Movie Blog because he was calling this stuff out when the movie first came out. But I digress. Either way, it is kind of refreshing to see this going on. But let's see what the quote is and, kind of the context for all this. It says, a new report indicates that Lucasfilm hopes Star Wars Episode 9 will put the franchise back on the right track after a disappointing box office haul for Solo: A Star Wars Story. So once again, we look to Solo. Again, the blame is being put on Solo. However, you cannot take Solo in isolation. Solo did not come out in isolation. Solo came out in the shadow, going back to that article I read the other day, in the shadow of The Last Jedi. So you cannot ignore it. Solo did not just come out and not do well. Solo did not do well, 1, because it was a movie that fans didn't want, 2, because it came out in the shadow of one of the worst Star Wars films ever made, that is The Last Jedi, and 3, the marketing campaign could have been so much more robust, and that could have been helped by better casting, because Alden Ehrenreich, not a terrible actor, I'm not going to call him out for that, but he's not Han Solo. And you kind of need a character to be Han Solo and to embody who Han Solo is in order to sell an audience. But let's just be honest for a second. Why did that movie lose money? Because people refused to go see it. And why did people refuse to go see it? Not because of the trailers, not because of anything else other than the fact that they were pissed off and they were still hurt by The Last Jedi. They were still hurt by the fact that Disney obviously doesn't care about its fans. Disney does not care what the fans want. Disney would rather do its own thing, would rather put its own identity politics, SJW, NPC nonsense into their films, and instead they realize now, so much longer after the fact, almost a full year after The Last Jedi, things aren't quite right. We need a course correction here. We need a course correction. And oh, but Solo was the reason why. No. The Last Jedi is the reason why you need a course correction. The report comes from Variety's article on how several major studios are pursuing director J.J. Abrams for a record-breaking mega deal. According to the article, Lucasfilm is approaching Episode 9 as a course correction following the failure of Solo to meet expectations because of The Last Jedi. Let's just always have that next to it, because we have to understand why Solo failed, and if you ignore The Last Jedi, you are ignoring history, and you are living in ignorance. Solo only earned a little over $392 million worldwide upon its release in May. The film is currently the least successful in the history. It's the only Star Wars film ever in history to lose money, so yeah, this is the least successful one in the history of the Star Wars franchise, and may have lost Disney over $50 million, $200 million. Again, $200 million, gotta be honest. Alden Ehrenreich, the actor who plays Solo in the film, is signed on for 3 films with Disney. It's not gonna happen. They would be stupid to do that at this point. They would be absolutely stupid to do that at this point. And again, I think Solo is not the worst of the Star Wars films that's ever been made. I mean, obviously, I think that L337 is the worst character since Jar Jar Binks, even worse than Jar Jar Binks himself. However, at the end of the day, what we end up seeing here is we end up seeing a guy who just does not fit the role, who just is not Han Solo. So 3 films? That's a joke. That's a joke at this point, which means he could still return in the role in some capacity in other spin-off films set during the same time period. However, Solo itself is unlikely to get a sequel. Not likely at all. Abrams, who directed 2015's Force Awakens, is returning to the director's chair following the departure of Colin Trevorrow in September 2017 because of creative differences with who? Kathleen Kennedy, who was the one that greenlit Solo and all the different changes, and fired Lord Miller and did all these other things to balloon the budget and lose $200 million. Oh, wait a minute, that was right. It was Kathleen Kennedy, who was the one that just got a 3-year contract extension. Oh, wait, that's right. It's Kathleen Kennedy. So you see, they say, oh, course correction. Yeah, no, we want to get things back on the right track, even though we continue to make decisions that double down on the terrible direction that we've been going in for a long time now. Yeah, it's okay. It's fine, though. It's fine. Production Episode 9 began in August, according to a tweet from Abrams, and then there is more information about the actual filming, and it is set to be opening in December 20th, 2019. And I can already say this. You talk about course correction, you talk about all these other things. Until you finally admit to yourself, because some people say, oh no, look, they're admitting, finally, aren't you going to get over it? Well, no, because they aren't admitting it. Notice how in that article, The Last Jedi was not mentioned at any point. Now, yes, this is CBR.com, and it's not a huge major publication, but it's still, it's a well-known name when it comes to film news in general, so I think that it is still valid to talk about. But when you decide to say, oh, yes, course correction, this is the language that was used by J.J. Abrams, this is the language that's being used by Disney right now, that there does actually need to be a course correction, which again assumes that they went off course at some point. And yet, if you continue to point to Solo as the point where you went off course, you are living in ignorance. You have to. Again, you cannot take Solo in isolation. You have to remember that it came out 5 months after The Last Jedi. You need to remember The Last Jedi had extremely abysmal reviews from fans. Again, less than 50% of audiences actually liked the movie because it was very divisive. Now, some people might try and say, oh, it's because it subverted your expectations and you didn't like how the film played out, and blah 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 blah. But then you actually go back and you read it. And that's why Matthew Kadish is a great person to read. If you've never checked out his work, guys, please do. Matthew Kadish is awesome. He writes for Medium.com. Go check out his work because he does a great job of showing, yes, there are narrative flaws. There are authentic, objective narrative flaws that really not only cause the movie itself to fall apart, but also cause the entire Star Wars universe to implode upon itself. The fact that hyperspace ramming is still a part of canon is ridiculous. And some people have been asking, saying, what do you mean? What's the big deal about hyperspace ramming? Well, keep this in mind. If all you need to do is put a ship into hyperspace and go through another ship to destroy it, then why in any other Star Wars film or TV show in history didn't they just put a droid inside an X-Wing or something else and put it through hyperspace through the Death Star? Oh, it's because of the shields. Wait, really? I'm pretty sure the ship had shields, so what are you trying to say here? It doesn't make any sense. It doesn't make any sense. Again, it literally breaks Star Wars because now, anytime a future film comes out, anytime you watch one of the old films, guess what? Okay, well, why didn't they just hyperspace ram it? Oh, if that's a thing, if you can do that now, because beforehand, people were like saying, no, well, it'd be cool if you could do that, but you know, obviously they don't do that because, the shield would probably cause a bit of a problem and, it wouldn't work in general, which is why no one would actually ever do it. But since now we have The Last Jedi, where hyperspace ramming does work and you can destroy ships with it, again, it breaks Star Wars. It breaks the narrative, and they have not addressed it. They have not wanted to try and fix it because they say, oh, no, it's fine. It's fine. Oh, we need a course correction, but it's not because of The Last Jedi. Now, The Last Jedi is fine. The Last Jedi set up a lot of things that were good. They're good. We don't have to worry about anything. We don't have to fix or retcon anything. Even though a lot of the news that we're hearing from and outside of The Last Jedi, or rather, setting up for Episode 9, is that, oh, Luke Skywalker is going to be back in some capacity. They're going to try and fix certain things that went wrong, but they will never go as far to say that The Last Jedi is the problem. They will never go and blame Rian Johnson. They will never say that he did anything wrong. They will say course correction. And you think, oh, they mean it. They really mean it. They must get it now. But they don't. They don't because they don't care. They're going to continue to put this language out there. It is refreshing to finally see that they understand that there is a course that needs to be corrected, that they did go off, but they still have not admitted the problem, which was and is and will always be, until it's retconned, Star Wars The Last Jedi. But guys, what are your thoughts on this? Do you think that it's good that they're finally at least admitting that there is something wrong and that they need to, course correct? As, I think this came from J.J. Abrams, who said this. I think that's big. I really do think it's big. It is them slowly starting to admit the truth. Of course, I honestly believe they will never fully admit that The Last Jedi was a mistake. I don't think they'll ever admit that The Last Jedi has a lot of problems or mistakes, because that would mean that they would have to throw Rian Johnson under the bus, and they're not going to do that because they've already still given him, at this point, his contract is still intact of him getting 3 films, getting another trilogy down the line, and I don't think they're going to want to break that because they like him. He fits their mold. He fits the Hollywood SJW NPC mold, and so they're not going to turn on him. They're not going to betray his trust, and so they're going to continue to double down, and as they continue to double down, even if they admit that there is a course correction that is needed, if they don't understand the source, if they don't understand why it got put off course in the first place, you're never going to fix it. But that's my thoughts on this, guys. I would love to hear yours in the comments below. So please, if you like this video, hit that thumbs up, hit that subscribe. It helps me out a lot. You are all amazing, beautiful people. Hope you all have a great weekend. Have a great day. And as always, God bless.